everyone, it's Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm finally getting around to doing that long-awaited Q&A video that I've been promising since like, I don't know, maybe like May or something. I asked for Q&A questions a long time ago and then promptly got sucked into deadline, so I don't even know why I did that to you guys. I'm so sorry. But finally, I have turned in my edits, as you may have seen in my July wrap-up, and I have a little bit more free time, so I can finally film something. I thought I would go ahead and jump into filming today. I might film this over multiple days, so the background may change, just because I'm a tad bit rusty and my throat is bound to start hurting from talking so much in one day. Also, I haven't looked over these questions since I got them in like, oh no, it wasn't even May, it was April. It was April. I haven't looked these over since I got them in April, but I do remember that some of the questions I decided I was not going to answer because I have videos that will cover the topics and I can give you much more information with a lot more resources in those videos than I can just like quickly trying to answer a question here in a Q&A. So I am just going to go ahead and put my entire query playlist down below because a lot of questions were about querying or processes or things like that. If you've noticed and you somehow remember 6 months later that I haven't answered your question in this video, it's because I already have a video with that in there. And I don't mean to do this in like a sassy way. It's just I have quite a few questions and I want to make sure everyone's got an answer. Okay, these aren't going to be in any order. We're just gonna dive right in. Are you a morning person or a night owl? Naturally, probably a late morning person. I feel like the best time to get up is like 8:30, have a nice, luxurious, calming morning, and then get to work around 11 and like work till 3. But because of my husband's current work schedule, that's not happening. So I've kind of inadvertently turned into a night owl, which makes me sad. Where do you find inspiration for your books? Literally everywhere. Any other type of media that I consume, books, TV shows, and movies mainly. The Glass Witch was 100% inspired by my love of Hocus Pocus and Dumplin', and Tobe, my next middle grade, is inspired a lot by, oh goodness, A Series of Unfortunate Events, The Addams Family, Disney's Haunted Mansion. So like even a ride at Disney World can inspire stuff for me. So it's everywhere. Just go out and consume as much as you can. If your books are ever made into movies, TV, etc., what would your cameo be? I would almost want it to be like something unrecognizable. So like the Glass Witch, the Glass Witch takes place during Halloween. So like imagine the movie comes out and then like 5 years later I give an interview and I'm like, oh yeah, remember that one scene where like everyone had their costumes on? I was the one in the Yeti suit. What was the rough word count of the Glass Witch? Well, the final word count is 36K. Favorite and least favorite thing about Ohio? Well, Skyline is my favorite. I love Skyline chili. If you haven't had it, I'm so sorry. It's just like, it's our Ohio thing. Like it's chili and we put it on hot dogs, we put it on spaghetti, we put it on potatoes. It's so good. Least favorite thing about Ohio is probably the humidity. It kind of kills. It kind of kills. Today it is 90% humidity and it's like 92 degrees outside and my windows look wet. Any crystals at your writing station? Ooh, let me go get them. This is my smoky quartz and it's like a multi-point and it's so pretty. And then I also just keep this little jar for inspiration. I shake it, I like the sound. It's got mint and rosemary and tiger's eye and lapis lazuli in it. The thing you're most excited about having your book published? Getting to hear from readers, whether that's like just they send me a letter, which would be like super cool. I do have a PO box now if you want to send me something fun. But just like getting a letter, an email, meeting someone out at an event that said that they love my book, or like a child, like an actual living, breathing child or dead child, like I don't care. Come to me if you're a ghost child too. That would be amazing. Favorite thing to grow in your garden? I love my garden. My garden's very small this year because we didn't get around to planting in time. But rosemary, 100%, even though I have a really hard time keeping her alive. It's just too humid in Ohio. She's really tasty and she's great to put in tea. If you're looking for a tea recipe, chamomile, rosemary. Trust me, the floral earthiness of the two mixed together, next level. I'd love to hear more about your ideas for potential adult projects, if that's still an interest. Yes, it is. Not, I don't think anytime soon, but definitely down the line, I would love to write something adult. I do have like one of these lofty ideas that I don't know if I'm ever gonna write, but it's like a literary fiction, and I don't know who I am thinking I can write literary fiction. I don't read near enough literary fiction to write a literary fiction book. But it's kind of like a family drama, and it's the main character is, well, one of the main characters is going to be like a little boy who can like see ghosts. And it's kind of like low-key stolen from The Sims, like the Goth family. The only other thing that I have an idea for is some books that right now kind of feel like they're upper YA, but really I would love to write them as adults so that I have more freedom to have a longer page count and get more gritty if I want. But they're kind of sitting in that like nebulous, will I ever write them anyway, because they're like all high fantasies right now, and I kind of got taken down a peg by trying to query a high fantasy. So we'll go back to YA high fantasy one day, and maybe adult high fantasy as well. But for right now, I am sticking with my low fantasy middle grades. I would really love to write an adult thriller. I just have not got an idea for one yet. Like after middle grade fantasy, adult thrillers are my #1 highest read genre, which shows you my 2 modes. Things you wish you could tell yourself when writing your first novel. I would tell myself to read a craft book. That would be a good idea. I've read so many craft books since then. And in fact, if you're looking for recommendations, I will link the video below where I read and reviewed, I don't even know how many, at least 10 different craft books. I didn't know how to plot a novel. I think that was my main problem. Also, like, make that character active, girl, from the beginning. I feel like I went through so many drafts with that book where it just wasn't working because my main character was just like floating around the first 6 chapters and things were happening to her, but like she wasn't doing anything to impact the plot. How do you stick to an idea? I keep jumping ship each time something new pops in. I don't have a good way of saying to do it other than just to do it. Like you really have to be strict with yourself and say you are going to do this and put your foot down and actually do it. I think that that is a huge thing that a lot of people struggle with, so you're definitely not alone in that. If I can give you some harsh advice in a loving manner, of course, you just gotta stick your foot down and you gotta do it. I really think that is the difference a lot of times between writers who make it into publishing and writers who don't, is that you gotta do it. You gotta force yourself. What is your favorite video you've ever made? Ooh! Okay, so I really like my querying journey videos. If you haven't seen those, they will be linked in a playlist below. I documented my entire query journey and I put it in 2 installments because I had so much footage of the, I think 3 years, I can't remember now, that I spent querying, and I'm really proud of those videos. I like seeing the growth from where I'm at in the beginning to the end. It's fun seeing like my hair and my body change over the years. So it was just like, it was a really fun project. Also, I'm really woo-woo, so I enjoyed my witchy woo-woo stuff, chooses my writing. That was a fun video. I'll link that below too. Oh, I really liked my holding my book for the first time. That's where I got to like show my arc to my like friends and my parents. That was really fun. Oh, I'm forgetting all these videos. Me and my husband wrote a rom-com together. That was a blast. How do you come up with names for people and places in your stories? For places, I really play around with words that I love. I know, for instance, in The Glass Witch, when I was trying to come up with the town name Cranberry Hollow, I wanted the small town vibes, so I knew Hollow, and I was thinking, of course, Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls, and then I also, cranberries just worked out great because they are a big part of the story. So I just take a lot of words that I like and I mash them together. As for names, I usually make a list of names that I think would fit the character and fit the vibe and the timeline, or the, I guess, time period, and I pick my favorite ones. Best headache tips. I have no tips for you, but I can give you tons of supply ideas. I have this amazing thing called the headache hat. Got my headache hat back on this morning because we don't want a pain flare up today on the most important day of my life. It is from the Headache Hat shop on Amazon, and it is the best ice pack that I've ever bought. It's a little expensive, and I bought the most expensive one, but it's 100% worth it. Do you collect inspirational images for character setting, etc. for your projects? Kind of. I have a Pinterest board. I haven't updated it in a long time. I don't find it necessary for writing, but it is kind of a fun time-wasty thing that I do every now and then. What would Adelaide's favorite tea be? What a cute question. Well, she's a baker, so it would depend on what she's eating because she would match them perfectly together, I'm sure. So if she was eating something really sweet, she would probably go with a more bitter tea, like something earthy or like an Earl Grey or something like that. You know what I will say? I'll make it up right now off the top of my head. She would have like a black tea or a green tea that has been mixed with cranberries and a lot of honey in there. How have you been feeling? Thank you so much for asking. That is so sweet. I have been feeling absolutely wonderful. I feel like I'm living my best life. I feel like I've had some very hard years and I'm finally getting a bit of a break. And I feel blessed and I feel happy and I just feel like the color yellow. How do you transition from writing in different age categories? Ooh, that's a good question. I guess I just read a lot of both, and I read a lot, like I'll read a middle grade, then a YA, middle grade YA, or middle grade adult, because then you know kind of the voice expected in different age categories, you know the tropes that are expected, you know your audience, and I think that that can be really helpful. So I think that's how I do it. Mechanically, how I do it is I know that middle grade normally is much smaller of a word count than adult or YA, and also when I'm writing, I try to keep the age category that I was in at that time in mind when I write it. So when I'm writing middle grade, I'm writing it for my 12-year-old self. When I'm writing YA, I'm writing it for like my 16, 17-year-old self. How do you get over that constant tweaking, perfecting, editing, and just write? I can't get past constantly feeling like my book will never be good enough for agent sub. I guess my question for you is, are you sending your book to critique partners or beta readers? Because a lot of times when I'm feeling like I don't actually know if this is good, I send it over to someone else, I get their feedback, and I learn, oh yeah, this isn't as bad as what I thought. But then they can give you feedback and help you make it even better. Also, if we're talking about drafting, I let my draft be an absolute disaster. The first 2 drafts. I don't tweak. I just vomit it all out so that I can fix it later. So if you're talking about in drafting, like how do you keep from revising while you're drafting? Again, tough advice, tough love, just don't do it. I don't know what else to tell you, you just can't do it, I guess, if that's what you're talking about. Otherwise, I would say get a friend to read over your book. Which scene, line, or chapter are you most excited for people to read? And Tobe, any of the twists. I'm really excited. I'm excited to learn if I like catch people off guard. I love twists myself, and the fact that I could potentially pull a twist on someone is a very exciting prospect for me. So far, so good. In the Glass Witch, it's like specific lines that I think are really funny, that I'm really proud of, that I want people to read, but like I can't say them here. Like, you gotta read the book. How do you know when an idea is big enough to become a whole book? Well, I keep all of the ideas I get on note cards, and periodically I will go through them and see if I can combine any of the note cards to make a story. That is exactly what I did with The Glass Witch. That is what I did with Tobe, and it's worked out pretty good for me. But I mean, it's kind of just like a intrinsic knowing thing. I'm like, ooh, I've got something here. And that happened for me quite early. In fact, I knew that I wanted to have a middle grade book based on Hocus Pocus, but the dumpling aspect didn't come in until like probably a week or 2 into brainstorming. And then I was like, that's the missing piece. That's what I needed. I wanted there to be like a Halloween themed pageant, and that was going to be like the center stage of my climax. So you kind of just know, but you can also kind of facilitate it by brainstorming, consuming other media, seeing if you can take something that you love from something else and make it your own and combine it with your original idea. Will you be doing a giveaway for your ARC? Yes, I have already done a giveaway for my ARC. Of course, this was back in April when I got this, and that's completely my fault for not doing this Q&A until now, but I will be doing another one. Don't worry. I will be doing one, geez, I probably should do it soon, shouldn't I? For the ARCs, I can do a couple more ARC giveaways. I got quite a few here still, so last time I gave away 5. I don't think I can give away 5 this time, but I could probably do a couple. So I'll do that, and then when I get my final copies in, I will be giving away a hardcover. I've always wanted to do like an annotated version too, where I like go in and like write you little notes in there. I thought that would be fun to do a giveaway of that, so look out for that. Do you have a P.O. box? Yes, I actually do. I just got one. It's always linked in my link tree down below, so you can send me a letter if you'd like. How involved were you with creating or approving the book book cover. I was actually delightfully, surprisingly, quite involved. I don't think, from what I've heard from friends, that the amount of approval that I got to have over the book is normal, so I feel very, very blessed to have that. I was actually asked in the beginning what ideas I had, what the characters look like, what I wanted to see, if I had any comparison titles of like styles that I liked, and I got to send that all into my editor, who took it to a board when they were going over what type of cover artist that they wanted to get for me that they felt meshed well with the book. My editor came back to me and said, hey, we're thinking this person. Here's some of her work. Do you like it? And I was like, yes. And then as drafts of the cover came in, I got to approve them. I got to give feedback. In fact, one of the first things that we changed was we made Addie more plus size. We also changed the font of my name, and I like it much better now. It looks nice and kind of creepy. I had a wonderful experience. I don't think it was very common to have this much freedom with it, but I've been very lucky. I really have. Has any part of your understanding of publishing changed since getting your deal? I think a lot of things are just like, I knew and I had heard other authors talk about these things, but then once you experience it on your own, you're just like, okay, that understanding was correct. So it's the same understanding, just with an exclamation on the end. Like, you really don't know anything until someone just emails you and is like, oh, hey, by the way, you're a New York Times bestselling author or something, and it's like, what? Or you just have no idea what is happening behind the scenes with your book. Like, your publisher could be doing a million things and you would have no idea, and all of a sudden you get a huge email one day and it's like bullet pointed with everything that's been going on without your knowledge, and you're just like, oh hey, this is wonderful. Is there any genre or marketing category of book you would like to write but haven't? If so, what? Yes, one day I would love to write adult, especially adult thriller mystery. I think that would be so fun. How do blurbs work? Does your publisher require you to do them, or are they optional? I have no idea. A better person to ask this question would be Lizelle Samberry, or someone who has already gone through the blurb process. What is your next big goal on your publishing journey? Honestly, my goal is to like make it through to my release date alive. Like, you have no idea the anxiety that you get all of a sudden realizing that you are mortal and you have a book coming out in 2 months and some days, and like at any time you could just die of anything. Like, I got a spider bite the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, what if it's a black widow and I just drop dead? Like, I can't die. I have a book coming out. Like, this is the pinnacle of my life so far. I cannot die. Do you want children one day? Well, other than all of my fur babies, which I just went like this, like you could see them, but there's one behind you, one down here, and one over here. Yes, I actually think I want one. I think one is a good number for my lifestyle and my anxiety level and the amount of like spoons that I have with my disability. I want one child, and I want it to be a girl, and if it's a boy, we send it back up to cook. Just kidding. I'll take whatever, I guess. Do you like living in Ohio? What location would you move to if given the choice? I do like living in Ohio. I don't really care for the humidity, as I've said, but I like that we have all 4 seasons. I like that we have, you know, both mountains and fields and rivers and lakes and pretty much, you know, everything you could ask for. If I could move anywhere, I don't know if I would move anywhere, but I mean, if I got like really rich and I could have houses in other places, I would love to have some place in, gosh, like Scotland or Ireland. Like, that would be amazing. I'd also like to have a beach house in Florida, because what 84-year-old grandma does not want to have a beach house in Florida? Any tips on getting back in the groove when you don't know how long you'll be feeling good? Ooh, that's a good question. Goodness, a lot of times with disability and chronic illness and pain, you just have to take it day by day. Don't overexert yourself, because the worst thing you can do is get so excited that you're feeling good that you try to mash an entire week's worth of work into one day, because I am so guilty of doing that so often. You really just have to take it a day at a time and do what you can. And remember, you need to take care of you first, because the books aren't going to happen if you're not there. And for you to be there, you have to take care of yourself. Being creative, how do you choose which ideas become a story and which to put a pin in? I do the whole note card thing as well. As I've mentioned, if I really like an idea, I just pop it on a note card and I store those away and look through them periodically. but a lot of times I know which ones I'm most excited about are the ones that I want to be a book right away. But I also know that there are some stories that I'm really excited about that just like aren't it right now. For example, I want to have a career, right? If I was a hobbyist writer, this would be completely different and I would 100% write whatever I love all of the time. But because I am working in an industry, I do need to keep in mind the industry's wants and desires at that time, like what's hot and what's not, basically. So if I have two ideas and I like both of the ideas, I'm probably going to write right now the one that I feel like is the most marketable so that I can continue to get my career, you know, off the ground. But I do have a lot of note cards that I'm really passionate about and I will write one day, but I'm hoping the market comes around for them. Or maybe I just get so big one day they let me write whatever I want. That would be nice. When you've taken time off due to pain, how hard or easy is it for you to get back into writing? Physically, I usually take a day between when my pain ends and when I start writing again. I just need, it's like a hangover day. Like with the way my pain works, I always feel like it's like getting over the flu. Like you have aches and chills and you're super fatigued. So I'm not gonna force myself to write when I don't feel good. Like I have thankfully learned the lesson the hard way, for sure, that I've got to take care of me. So I usually give myself like a grace day to relax and really like just feel like I'm fatigued, so I'm gonna let myself live in that fatigue. I'm just gonna read books and watch TV that whole day after my pain ends. That buffer day is hard to deal with, and I'm not gonna lie and say I don't ever have a time where my brain is like, you're being lazy. There are people who are writing and you're not writing and they have it way worse than you. Your brain will do stuff like that. But I've gotten really good at telling my brain to shut up. But then if you mean like creatively, how easy is it for me slipping back into writing? I guess it depends on a lot of factors and not just health. Like if I was in a really fast-paced part of my book and I was excited to get back to it, it would be easier than if I was in a place where I felt stuck before I had the pain flare. It just is all very dependent. What is hard accepting being disabled, going blind, and still arguing with my own ableism? It was very hard, and in fact I denied it most of my life because I had an idea of what disability was, and I was like, I'm not disabled, I can walk, I can talk. And then I just had to kind of learn that just because your disability looks different than someone else's doesn't mean you're also not disabled. But I think that learning to accept myself and my illness was one of the most healthy things that I could have done for myself, because then that allowed me to be like, you know, stop putting myself on the same pedestal as like able-bodied people, like with productivity. Like it's okay if you don't get as much done as A, B, and C person, because you have a lot more going on. And that was really freeing and really healthy for me to come to terms with. Oh my gosh, was that all the questions? I think it was. I didn't even have to split this video up. Nice. Like I said, I did skip over quite a few. So if you asked one for query tips or writing tips specifically that I already have a video on, I will have them down below for you. Ooh, now I want to ask you guys a question. What's a good weird question? Oh, I heard this one the other day. Okay, this is a good one. This is a good one. Divisive. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Is a Pop-Tart ravioli? Are ravioli Pop-Tarts? Why or why not? Give me your best argument down below. The best well-reasoned point will be given a golden star. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please pre-order the Glass Witch. She comes out in like 2 months, and I'm just so excited to share her with the world. It would mean the world to me if you pre-ordered her. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!